What did you say, Yerachmiel?
Roasted udder.
Here we have the udder, right? Udder joy. Okay, so what do we? You should know that there's a lot of arguments in the udder. There's a lot of arguments in the udder. If you can ever eat an udder, if you can ever boil an udder together with meat, no matter what you do, if you can ever boil the udder with meat. Now, just a little recap of what we said, and we'll only do it, let's say, for another 10 minutes. A little recap of this laws of the udder. We said that the udder has milk in it. You slaughter a cow, and now you want to cook the udder. It's permissible. The meat is permissible. The milk is permissible. The problem is the milk is what we call chalav shchuta. It's not real 100% milk that's forbidden from the Torah to cook together with meat. It's not forbidden. From the Torah, only regular, normal meat, milk that comes from a cow is forbidden to cook with meat. Milk that does not come from a living cow is not really forbidden. This is called chalav shchuta. Like we said, we learned that before in Pei Zayin. But nevertheless, the rabbis put all of the severities of regular milk on this. It's forbidden to do. Forbidden to do, say the rabbis. And I want to stress it again, and I'll stress it another 100 times. The laws of the rabbinical laws are exactly the same power and validity as the laws from the Torah. Exactly the same. It's just that the Torah made certain differences between laws from the rabbis and laws from them. It's like the tefillin you only put on your left arm. That means your right arm is worse. Doesn't mean, these are just laws that the Torah made. So the Torah said that there is, in some ways, more lenient the laws of the rabbis, in some ways, than the laws. In some ways, the laws of the rabbis are more severe. The punishment is more severe. It says, there's makos martis. Sometimes a person is, you beat him until he dies. And then from the Torah, it's only beating until you're 39 lashes is the maximum. But they estimate the person how much he can take before there's any danger. And from the Rabbanim, sometimes it's no end. Okay. So now we're learning about this udder, right? Bait. Law number bait. Nagu, the custom is shalola bashla in basar. The custom is never to boil the udder together with meat at all, even if you slash the udder. Now, again, remember, we're talking about you slaughtered the cow and you cut off the udder, and now you want to boil this udder with milk. So it says in the beginning, the first law said, technically you can slice it, you can slash it and press it against the wall and take out all the milk, and then you can cook it with meat. But bait nagu, the custom is, do not ever boil an udder together with meat at all. Because this milk will come out, no matter how much you squeezed it, a little bit of the milk will come out, and you can't cook milk, even this rabbinical milk, even a little drop of it, even if you have 1,000 times as much meat, you're not allowed to cook milk and meat. Good if there's 1,000 times as much, so it's permissible to eat. I don't know if it's permissible to boil, to tell you the truth. In any case, don't ever cook it an udder. This is the custom. Don't ever cook the udder, no matter what you do. Never cook it together with other meat. Nagu shalol bashlo and basar kalal, but the bashlo below basar. But what about to boil it without meat, or to roast it, tigun, to fry it, or pashtida, or if you want to some reason put this udder into a kugel, matzrich and kriya shasi of Arab, alone. You want to put it with potatoes, something like that, you have to slash it lengthwise and And then push it in a wall, and etc. And then if you want to roast it, also you don't have to squeeze it, but you have to slash it. In other words, according to this custom, nothing you can do, no way you can ever cook or boil or whatever kachal, udder with meat. If you transgressed and you boiled it with other meat, then you should say it's permissible b'diavad. Okay, I think we can skip this. If we want to learn smicha, we'll go back to learn it. Law number gimel, mutar, it is permissible lachtoch kachal roteach. It is permissible to cut a boiling hot, flaming hot udder with a knife that you cut with this knife meat. Why? Because you might think if you have a meaty knife and you cut the kachal, it'll touch the milk that's in the kachal, in milk that's in the udder, and it'll make a forbidden. Says it's not, you can do it. And it's also permissible to cut meat with a knife that you cut with it the hot udder. Okay, let me just a small line about what it means. What makes knives forbidden? Anything. The knives, if you cut something, right, let's say cheese or something like that, so the cheese, it's got to be like sharp or hot or something. And then there's what's called dochakat the sakina, pressure of the knife puts it in. We'll learn about those laws later. Let's go to Daled, and then we'll try to start Tzaddik Aleph, okay? Let's slot kachal. What if you want to roast the udder? Or if you want to salt it together with other meat? Up to now, we've been talking about boiling. The law is the same thing as if you roast or salt kaved, liver with meat. Now, what's the law about salting or liver with meat? Liver has a big problem in it. And liver is, they say, 100% blood. So therefore, you have to put, if you're going to roast them together, you have to make sure that the liver is on the bottom and not on the top, because it pours blood into the other meat. We'll learn about that when we learn about roasting and things like that.
Wait, even if it's cooked already?
Even if it has been, no, if it has been cooked, if it's been cooked, you got problems. But if you roasted it first, then it's okay because it takes out the milk from it. Some people say that it's okay, no problem. You can salt udder together with regular meat. You can salt it, but because the salt takes out the milk, and we're worried that it'll take out the milk from the kachal and it'll put it into the piece of meat, etc. Okay, strange laws with kachal. I don't think there's ever going to be practical. If you want to, we can go back and learn them. If you want to make it more practical, any of you decide you want to get smicha, you can, but usually you're not even tested on these laws in smicha. Usually not. Let's go to something that you will be tested if you want to know smicha, and we'll do it for 5 minutes, and that's it for today. Siman Tzaddik Aleph. The law of meat and milk to get mixed up together. Okay, now we're really getting into the laws. Basar v'gavina, milk, meat, and cheese, shenagu zeh that touched one the other, mutarim, it is permissible. If they're both cold, nothing is wrong. They're both cold. You touched meat and cheese together. They're both cold. Don't worry about it. We'll learn this is not 100% true. Because if the meat has cracks in it or something like that, then you're going to have problems. But let's say for our purposes, you have a piece of meat that's smooth and it touches cheese, it's permissible. You just have to wash off the cheese where the meat touched it and wash off the meat where the cheese touched it. In fact, you can bind them both together in the same, whatever is a lunchbox, each one wrapped separately or something between them, we don't worry, maybe they will touch one the other, and you will forget to wash them. We don't worry about that. Oh, excuse me. That's talking about if they're both cold. And now we're going to get into all sorts of other dynamics. What happens if they're both hot? What happens if one of them is hot? What happens if they're salted? What happens if one of them is salted? What happens if you soak them, meat into milk or cheese in a chicken soup? It gets soaked in there for a while. We'll see. Bait, call mide, anything. The boy hadacha that requires washing off, like the law we just said, if meat touches milk. We got the beer right there, good. Yeah. Call mide, anything. The boy that requires hadacha, kagon, for instance, we can learn from this if you want to, we can learn from this all the time because it has the ber heitev. It's very good. Any time that meat or milk has to be washed off, like we just finished learning, or if you want to, hiniach, put basar heter, permissible meat, tzonin, it's called bekeara, in a plate, shall iser tzonin, a plate that was used for, say, camel meat, forbidden meat, then if you know that you're going to have to wash it off, it's forbidden to do so. Why? Maybe you'll come to eat it without washing it off. When is this talking about? If you put meat that has been cooked, the lav orcha badacha, because meat that is cooked, you're not allowed to put on a not kosher plate, because meat that is cooked, you're not going to naturally wash it off before you eat it. Although mide de orcha badacha, but something which you always wash off before you eat it. For instance, raw meat, usually you wash it off before you don't eat it raw. You put it into the pot or whatever. So a piece of raw meat technically would be permissible to put on a plate that was treif. Shari lecharchila, you can overdo it lecharchila. But davka davar sheyesh lach luchis. But only if the thing is a little bit damp, but something that's totally dry, in lo balakli, then there's going to be a big problem with this Ramah. If the vessel that you're putting it in, a thing that's totally dry, you have a dry piece of meat, and you can put it in a treif plate. When? If the plate only became treif from cold, then you can put something dry on it without washing it off. And there's going to be a big, big argument about this, and we're going to learn in the ber heitev what exactly this argument is and what is the final law, God willing, tomorrow.